Hi, I'm Rita,
And I'm Sage.
and we're from WISHBONE Animation, and we're here to answer your questions about our latest trailer, Mirage. Let's start with the first question that we got, and we got quite a few here, all different variations of what was the inspiration or references behind Mirage?
Yeah, so our creative director Z and I, who I worked as the art director, we worked really closely to come up with a lot of visual reference for this particular trailer. We created a pretty extensive reference board on Pinterest as well as a really huge Miro board. Miro really helped us organize the information into specific categories.
As the creative lead on this project, a lot of the direction that we went with is kind of just things that I'm currently interested in as an artist and as a filmmaker, and that sort of mixed media look is something that I guess I keep coming back to in my own personal work and my films, and I thought that it would be a good fit for this sort of surrealist, dreamy environment to try and bring in some of that mixed media aesthetic. I was really inspired by the works of the Surrealist movement as well as the Dadaist movement. Both of those are artistic movements from, I would say like the early 20th century, like 1920s or so.
Well, one thing that really inspired us was definitely just the incredible work from all of the other artists we know in real life, including a lot of the people that we went to school with, but also a lot of our other artist friends. We're lucky enough to be part of a community of really talented artists. Despite the other sources that we might find inspiration from, the other artists around us are probably our biggest inspiration.
Yeah, for example, we brought in Zoe Gray to do beat boards for us. They were one of the artists who are within our circles who we were really inspired by for this project. So being able to bring in one of our friends to help us out on the project really helped, and a lot of their beat boards did end up making into the final cut of the film. This is my question to you, Sage, since you worked on the backgrounds and helped a lot with visual development. Someone asked, where did the inspiration for each of the dreamscapes we see come from? Were they personal to each member of production, or did they come about as the project was explored?
Yeah, it was kind of, I would say for the most part, they came about as the project was explored. Because this project was so open-ended from the beginning, since we had the littlest amount of pre-development work for this one, like all we had going into this project was a logline and a handful of inspiration images.
And for me personally, when I was thinking of the dream world, I was thinking about how we take our everyday lives and everyday objects and how they get warped in our subconscious when we're asleep. So I was thinking about how simple items, simple objects, furniture, curtains, water, how those become something different in our subconscious, and how those things warp into some sort of symbolism, some sort of thing that we're trying to figure out, and for some reason our brain latched onto those.
So we really did have to build it from the ground up, and that meant that when it came to figuring out which dreams to include, we really wanted to get everybody's input on the whole team. So one of the early on warm-up exercises we did, everybody was kind of tasked with doing a just quick little warm-up of sketching a dream that they had in the past. Some of those ideas did make it into our final trailer, so I think that was really beneficial and allowed us to get some ideas from everybody.
And so we sort of took those ideas and then synthesized them with visuals that we had come up with or stumbled upon when doing the storyboarding or design process. And so it was kind of a combination of things that we thought looked cool and dreamy and surrealist, as well as dreams and dream worlds that were a little bit more rooted in real experiences that we've had.
The question here is, how did we stay motivated and create a consistent schedule?
Spreadsheets, a lot of spreadsheets. I'm the spreadsheet guy.
That's a good one. I think it's really important to keep a consistent schedule. Our wonderful Z, who is our creative lead, but also our producer, Z and I sat down and created a schedule for this. But at the very beginning of the creation of Wishbone, we knew that we had 6 months, and we decided on 3 trailers.
2 months to create a minute and 30 seconds.
Yes, 2 months to make 1 minute and 30 seconds. Basically reverse engineering those 2 months backwards. I think it's really important to have a deadline first, because then you can work backwards of how long each step takes. We definitely hit so many bumps during production. I believe every week everyone would have one catastrophe happen. But because we had this deadline and because we were all working on it together, we were able to hold each other accountable while also supporting each other through each catastrophe that happened.
I think that we had more things come up during the process of making this trailer that had an impact on our overall timeline than we necessarily anticipated, but we gave ourselves ample wiggle room as far as our collective schedule as well as the timeline of making this short, because inevitably we knew things would come up. And going forward, it's been good because it's allowed us to have a better idea of how we operate as a studio, and that'll just continue as we go forward.
What parts are you not perfectly happy with and why? I think that no artist is ever perfectly happy with anything they create, especially when you have ideas of it in your mind of how it could turn out and how the process could go, and then you actually start making the thing. And so there's always going to be a discrepancy between what you first imagined and what the final product ended up being. And I'm very delighted with how this trailer turned out, and I'm very, very proud of the team and how it all came together. But of course, at the same time, as the creative lead and as the person who had the original concept for it, I do have spots where I'm like, oh, that animation could have been a little bit smoother, or oh, I wish we had done something a little bit differently with the background. But those are, really, they're just tiny details that no one else is going to notice except for me. And overall, I'm very, very happy with how Mirage turned out.
Next question.
Yeah. You want to... water.
Try not to breathe into the mic.
That's okay.
All the sounds.
What a wonderful soundbite. Oh my god, why is this side of my nose so itchy? Is it all red from me itching it?
No.
Okay. What was the hardest shot to animate, and are there any shots you had to give up on? I feel like in this case, those are kind of two separate questions, because the answer to the second question is yes, but it's not because it was hard to animate. So
Yeah.
I'll let you answer that one.
So the hardest shot to animate, and it wasn't necessarily animate, it was compositing, because that's the shot that we had to give up on, is the parade shot where our wonderful Isabella animated and colored the parade sequence that happens in the very beginning of the short. I had a much bigger idea where it was going to be this crazy 3D camera shot where you're following Mirage as she's falling, and then the camera swoops back to reveal this parade that is walking by. And it was literally Friday, 4 p.m., and we said that we were going to release it at 5 p.m. that day. And Z was like, we're cutting it. It's too long. It's too hard. And so we had to simplify the shot in order for us to be able to make it on time.
I'll be honest, I did not know any of that.
Is it LGBTQ+?
No. Just like the rest of us. Yeah, I mean, we are all gay in some way. So
No, we're all incredibly homophobic.
yeah, they kiss in the trailer. What do you think, Rita?
I don't know. I can't tell. It's very vague. I think they might be queer baiting us. I see there was a lot of multimedia stuff in the trailer. How did you get those assets, and how did you put them in? Was it simply photobashing, or did you also mix in some 3D modeling for more control over the objects?
Yeah, so I can personally talk about the collaged elements because I was the one who developed the pipeline for that, but I know that there were some 3D elements that you had control over in just like a handful of shots. For the most part, almost all of our collaged elements were photobashed. We were working in Procreate for the backgrounds, so we would either try to find transparent PNGs, or we would find PNGs with very simple backgrounds that we could kind of auto-select out and create a little clip art version of our image.
Like, for example, scenes where Mirage has her weapon. Her weapon is a separate asset that we collaged in later in the compositing process and wasn't actually animated with her while we were doing animation. So things like that are ways in which everything felt really fragmented and really only came together at the very, very last step.
I wanted there to be a little bit of visual cohesion aside from them just being collaged. So what that looked like was a little bit of photobashing. So we were kind of drawing over some of the images. There were certain images that we used in some shots where it had some writing on it or some other information. And then for things that we wanted to look a little more interesting, we used the brush pack that I created to paint over it. It basically involved using a lot of effects on the images. I was like duplicating the layers and using different blending modes and adjusting the hue, saturation, and value, adjusting the curves. I was adding halftones onto a lot of these because that was one of the visual things that we wanted to be consistent between all the backgrounds. So
how much of the concept art made it into the final trailer, and how did the team go about turning that concept art into animatable scenes? I think a lot of the concept art made it into the final trailer because we were on such a tight deadline. We didn't have, months and months to explore. So a lot of the process was like someone would make a piece of concept art that felt like it hit upon a really special idea, and we would just say, okay, perfect, that's it. We don't have time to second guess this idea. We're just gonna take it and run with it. As for turning the concept art into animatable scenes, I don't know, I think it's kind of just a lot of sitting down and looking at that concept art and figuring out, what is actually being animated here? What is this background gonna look like? Are there any other assets that we need to create? How is this thing going to move? And then taking that and putting it into our pipeline and fleshing it out until we get it all the way to the final stage.
all right, so let's talk about business. Is this trailer for Mirage to become a larger project or just a conceptual thing?
Awesome. So our mission at WISHBONE Animation is to create 3 trailers. And these trailers are basically our version of a micropilot. And for those who don't know, a pilot is a version where Hollywood would fund a full episode of a TV series to see if the executives liked it or not. And so our version of that is more cost effective and time effective is creating a trailer. So basically it's a proof of concept right now. And so we'll be coming out with 2 other ones. Sage is working on our next one. What we're hoping to do is that after we finish all 3 proof of concepts or micropilots, is that you as the audience will be able to vote on what you would like to be a full series. And then we basically are hoping that we would either kickstart it or we would have enough merchandise sales, or our Patreon is sustaining us as a studio in order for us to work on producing a full show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would need money to keep making it.
Yes.
Will we be able to buy the posters and keychains, signed or unsigned?
Yes. We probably by the time that this video is out have launched our store where you can get these wonderful posters that we have, except for Carl. He's ours. But these wonderful posters, the top one was designed by our marketing director, Raz, and I did the art for the bottom one. I really hope that you guys enjoy them and are able to look at them. We also have keychains that are really fun.
It is absolutely, you're gonna make me focus this? Wow.
Look at this amazing keychain that I 3D modeled. Logo.
Wishbone logo.
Wishbone logo.
It's Mirage's weapon.
Okay, take it away.
Yeah, so basically we have a ton of awesome merch that we're going to have available very soon, or might even already have available at the time of this video airing. So keep your eyes out for it. It's really
on our
cool.
website.
It's all handmade by members of this team, which is really exciting. We've been able to keep our production for merch just within our team with the resources that we have, which is really awesome and sustainable for us. So your guys' support means everything, and we have some really cool items for sale that allow you guys to help us out with that.
Yes.
All right, next question. It is such a beautiful idea. Sorry to ask, but will you guys be hiring freelancers in the future? We are currently not hiring because we already have a team that we're working with, and the team that we have right now is thankfully pretty perfect for us to accomplish what we're set out to do in these next few months. Depending on the success of the studio and these projects, though, that might mean that we will hire in the future. Expanding our team would be super beneficial for us because it would just allow us to increase our production. But of course, that will be dependent on the financial situation of the studio. Whether we're able to expand in that way is completely dependent on your guys' support. So I would hope in the future that we can hire. We have a huge community of really talented people who we would love to have involved in this project, but for the time being, our really talented team that we have right here is it's what we got to work with right now. So I guess that's a question that the answer right now is no, but in an ideal world, we would love to hire people in the future.
I think it kind of blends into the next question, which is how can people help out? The indie grind is real. And so basically the help that we need is just supporting us and watching our stuff, sharing it with your friends and family, making people know that we're doing stuff.
Like, comment, subscribe, click the share button, send it to your grandma, send it to your mom, send it to your dog. Patreon.
We're gonna have a Patreon.
Yeah.
So we have it. Maybe it's up by now.
Despite all jokes aside, genuinely the best way that you guys could possibly support us is by engaging with our videos in whatever way matters to you guys, whether that means just watching our stuff and being supportive or sharing it with your friends. In addition to that, we are going to have a Patreon, and in the future, there will be a Kickstarter. So anything that you guys can contribute to those things will go directly towards supporting the future of this studio and our future projects, as well as the current projects. Whichever project goes into full development at the end of this will be directly supported by your guys' help in our online communities. Thankfully, Patreon is also going to be a really cool thing because it'll allow us to share a lot of really awesome behind-the-scenes content that we're not really posting on our main socials right now. We're hoping to be able to compile some of our production work and our early viz dev work into an art book in the future. So all of those are going to be future ways that you guys can support us. For right now, just watching our videos and keeping your eyes out for our merch and our Patreon is the absolute best way to be supportive of us as a studio.
And I think this is I left it for last almost. This is our second to last question. What's the most important thing to keep in mind when making an indie animated show? I think it's a really cool question because it's something that we talked a lot about during the beginning of Wishbone, was like what is really important for us as a studio to make sure that we are doing this in a sustainable way. I think my main advice to people who are thinking of doing the same thing that we are is that you're making sure that you're making work that is important to you, but also has something to say in the world around you.
When you're making indie animation, you have a really special opportunity that you don't have outside of that environment, which is that you can make something that's genuinely just authentic to you as an artist and that speaks to you and your experiences. And I promise, if you make something that you care about, there are people out there who also care about it. The most important thing to keep in mind when making an indie animated show is just to make something that you feel really passionate about, because realistically, you're going to be working on it for a long time and it's going to be a lot of effort and a lot of work. Mm-hmm. So you better care about it.
Yeah. And you'll also be roping in your friends to help you on it. So you have to convince them to help you.
You don't want to have to feel like you have to sell an idea that you're not actually passionate about. Like, if you genuinely care about the project that you've created, it'll be really easy to get other people invested. Mm-hmm. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And that leads us to our final question. Who is the sun guy? You were the one who drew him in the concept art, so you would know most.
Well,
most.
You see,